Thank you. That was entry number 706, Smart Little Pepinic, shown by John Ward and owned by the John Ward Ranches.
Hey, hey.
30 seconds to work. 30 seconds to work.
Running as fast as I can.
Time. That is time. Thank you. That was entry number 37. Smart Little Pepinic is the horse, John Ward the rider.
155, 177 CD, DVD. Jay McLaughlin standing by, 185. Ridge Canyon Miss, Jason Hirschberger. Entry number 155, that's CD Rocks, Ed Robertson, showing under the colors of MD Bonds. Ticket number 155, that's CD Rocks and Ed.
Dodger, how do you compare the horsemanship today with yesterday?
Well, as far as individually, the horsemanship, there's just as many accomplished horse trainers today in any given field, and maybe more. But this doesn't go on to say that these are, we'll have to use the term, they're more specialists in. And so when you say that this man is a great horseman, I take exception to the fact that because he is only a great horseman per se, to use the term loosely, in one event. I have seen cutting horsemen that you say, have you seen the Grand Prix? Have you seen the open jumpers? Oh, no, we don't count. I think that any man who cannot see value in a 5-gaited horse, a 3-gaited horse, a hackney pony, a fine harness horse, a hunter, a jumper, or a beautiful pleasure horse well bridled, not a peanut roller with his head on the ground, but bridled up in a beautiful horse, then I don't believe that person's a horseman. I think that their view is very narrow. And when you get to thinking too, but the same token, that the only kind of horse that mounts or anything too is the one little bitty kind that you have, I don't believe that you are a horseman.
Today we take many elements of how horses are shown and judged for granted. But if not for Don, there wouldn't even be a reining event as part of the AQHA. And it was Don's example, as a judge, to begin the scoring system we still use today.
I'm the first man that ever took, when judging the working cow horses, the rein horses, and ever took and scored the rein work from 60 to 80 and the cow work from 60 to 80, and added the two of them together and said, that's what you got. And the first time I did this was in Monterey. And I did this, there was nothing said I could do this or didn't do this, because after all, when you judged in those days, they said, what didn't you like about my horse, Mr. Jones? And Mr. Jones says, oh, I don't know, I just like the other horse better. So that's what the answer they gave you. Well, I said, I'll give them the goddamn numbers and they can put it down. So we put the number up and I put it on the office in that old wooden building down there, and gee, what a terrific crowd they drew.
And the predetermined pattern is also Don's work.
In the early days, it'd be interesting to you all to know that there was no pattern. Whatever that old boy that's out there at the pencil decided when he woke up that morning, that's what he told you to do.
What he couldn't do.
And whatever he could dream up that could beat Don or somebody else he didn't like, why, he goes and he sits out there and he says, now boys, this is what I want you to do. And you do a couple figure eights and double ends and circle around and you do this and so forth. And of course, if you miss the pattern, you're out. Well, some people don't think as fast as other people, and some good hands went out because they couldn't remember the pattern. We used to be, you'd say to the judge, you say, when you go to show, you'd say, can I hit him with a Ramel? And they'd say, yeah, you can hit him one time, run down there. Or you hit him twice, you're out. But you can hit him one time. They'd say, remember that?
Yeah.
Say, hit him one time.
Drove right now, it's rear, right in the ground.
Yeah, geez.
Huh?
Terrible, yeah.
Don Dodge is a man known to speak his mind. He has shown the courage to initiate change where change is due. He is a teacher. He is our example, and he is the epitome of what legends are made of.
He said whoever wins buys the dinner, he won. Whoever loses buys the drinks. I lost, so we drank all night, never did eat.
I stayed over there and helped him, and I was riding right now, and he's riding that mare, and he beat me. But he didn't give me any of the purse, but he beat me.
I thanked you.
Yeah, you
And
thanked.
I'm still thanking you.
Well, so that was all right.
Yeah. And he still owes me a dinner.
And that is my own personal opinion, and it's one that might not be shared by a lot of people, but it's true nevertheless.
I learned from him. He was the giant when I was starting out.
It's too bad that you turned out to be such a failure, Greg. I mean, I'll have to tell you, like I told...
He's still a giant.
Like I told Gary Belenfant, I trained Gary Belenfant in the cutting.
Hi, I'm John Ward. I've got the privilege to introduce to you Greg Ward and his method and ideas in training horses. Greg's been training horses for over 30 years. He's had some real prestigious wins, such as the world's champion snaffle bit futurity. He's won it 3 times. He's also won the world's champion all-around stock horse contest 5 times. He's also been able to ride the NCHA futurity champion Stallion and also win the trials. At this time, we're going to go to the arena at Ward Ranch, where Greg's going to demonstrate his basic exercises and flexions on a 2-year-old and then onto a finished horse. A few basic exercises that I like to do with all my colts. One is to put their head down, low. And the way I do this, I just kind of open my hands, squeeze my horse into the bridle. If your horse ever gets uptight or gets on the charge and you can lower his head, he'll just relax immediately. Something about trust really helps to relax a horse. And even when you're loping around sometimes, the horse's little head's up a little bit, you can just kind of open your hands and he'll place himself on that bit. Also, when I lower that head, I want to move that hind quarter up. I call this an indirect rotation. Hind quarter stepping to the front end, but my collection's on the front end, where the horse's most of his weight is. Horse can do this all day. He can't spin, but he can do this. This is motion. This is helping me keep his backbone straight up. This is breaking all the joints in his hocks. This is stretching one side. This is concaving the other side. It's giving me an arc to spin to my left. It's giving me impulsion to go to my right. All the while I'm doing this, I don't want any bulges in his neck, nice and round. If I don't have a bulge up by his pole, I'm clean in his loin. This is indirect rotation. Now direct, I'll do the same shape when we go to my right. Having his front end and his hind end do exactly the same thing, only the front end in a bigger circumference than his hind quarter. And more weight is on his hind quarter. I've done this on both sides of this horse, so I can let his head come around here, and I can start my spin or my drill try to drill him on his outside hind foot. The reason I like to do this, make my outside hind foot his point of pivot. When I spin fast, I want him to use both feet. And when I run across the pen with a cow, I'd like for his outside hind foot to be his initial foot in the ground. He'll leave off of that foot and roll over his inside hock. When I spin, I want one foot pushing, one foot pulling. And if I do this both ways, a lot of horses go both ways on the same hind foot, and we're not aware of it. But if I teach my horse this, I can make him a more balanced horse. This is Just Plain Sugar, out of Sugar Remedy by Just Plain Colonel. He's 2 years old. He's been ridden 4 months, and I think he's an outstanding colt. Shows lots and lots of potential. And the thing that I like to think about is a horse comes to pressure, so we teach the horse to get away from pressure by asking. And we work on ourselves 100%. You don't have to work on the horse. The horse will understand. And he'll tell us. What we have to work on is being human beings and how intelligent we are and overlooking the little bitty thing. Like when something pulls in our hand, it's our subconscious to pull back. We have to tell ourselves to be passive, and when you get the hard spot, sugar. When you get a hard spot in the horse, like right there, he's not listening to me, but I'm going to do a little something with my left leg and just push that horse, push him into the bridle. There, soft, floating. When he's hard, I don't want to pull him off of it, I want to push him off of it. Ride the horse from behind your saddle forward. So where do you start? Do you start with the front end, or do you start with the hind end, or do you just start with both the same way?
I like to start with the hind quarters, even before you get your saddle on. I like to teach him to get away, to get away. Start working on those hind quarters right away. Those hind quarters, rolling up, rolling up. Lower that head.
What do you mean rolling up?
I want the hind quarters rolling up to the front end. 2/3 of my colt's weight are in front when I start him. That's the way he's made. I want to lower his head and push the hind quarters to it instead of bringing the front quarters to the hind quarters. I want to put the hind quarters under the front quarters, keeping the back round, and the farther I get his hind quarters under, the lighter his front end will be. And in the beginning, the baby stages, any little thing that your horse does for you, reward him. Any little thing that comes through like that.
So like right now you're trying to lower the horse's head and teach him to move away from your
Lowering his head
leg?
and riding the hind quarters forward. Roll the hind quarters up. Roll those hind quarters up. This gives me motion, and this is something he can do all day. I've got a collection on his front end. That's his heavy end, but I'm getting the muscles in the back to pull this way. If I rode him from the front end backwards, I would get all the big muscles in his back pushing. I'd have his neck braced and his lower jaw braced, and all those muscles pushing till the strongest man in the world couldn't pull this horse.
So you start with us just by walking a circle?
Walking a circle, pushing his hind quarters up, rolling them up, rolling them up.
While you're pushing, are you asking him to lower his head?
I'm lowering his head
And you're pushing the hind quarters up?
and rolling the hind quarters up.
So you're putting an arc on the left hand your side of your horse while you're walking a circle to the left?
Trying to get this neck just nice and round, nice and round. And when I've got this neck nice and round, I've got the body nice and round. When I've got a bulge here, I've got a bulge here. So if I try to turn my horse with a bulge in his neck, I've got a bulge in his loin, he has to go around himself. He cannot come through.
So you'll start with one side or the other, just walking a circle and pushing the hind end up and lowering the head. Is that right?
That's it.
Now,
Another thing I should say is I've got 2 reins, 2 hands, 2 legs. My inside rein is direction. My inside leg is direction. When I go to the right, I'll drop this leg back and I'll put this leg forward.
Your left leg forward.
And I'll give the horse direction with my right hand and I'll support him with my left hand. Now for motion, I'm going to go right back to pushing his hindquarters up. When I get a nice arc in my neck, I'm going to let this horse just come right on around here. Pretty good for a little baby. And by pushing his hindquarters up, and then I've done the same thing on the other side, I've got impulsion to go this way. Head came up a little bit. I'm going to ride that head back down. Came up again.
So you don't pull the horse for a spin, you just show direction and use the outside rein.
Show direction and shorten him from behind the saddle. Shorten him from behind the saddle. Bring that life up.
Wow. When you cluck, that's just another way to bring up the life.
When I'm clucking to him, I'm bringing the life up. So I don't have to, I want this horse to do what I'm wanting to do. I don't want him to do something, I don't want him to think he has to outrun the shot. I don't want him to think that he has to get away from something. I want it to be a communication between him and me. See, he's not bothered. There's nothing bothering this colt. His ears are up. He's listening to me. I'm going to trot around here a little bit. He's still a little bit fresh. There. I put a little pressure in the corners of his mouth. I spread my arms a little bit. There goes his head. He places himself on the bridle. I make it just a little bit uncomfortable for him. There goes his head. Just a little bit. Or I can ride him into it just a little bit and push his head even lower. There. I'm going to change my arc. Pushing with my left leg. Get that neck nice and round. Nothing bothering this colt. He's enjoying this. I want to make this horse my friend. I don't want him to be my slave. I want him to enjoy what I'm doing. I want him to enjoy it as much as I do. When we get to working the cow and handling, I want it to be easy for him. And that's what I'm building right now. It's muscles and mind. And I want this athlete to be physically and mentally balanced, not all physical. Most horses are trained physical. I think if we work on the mind, we see little things come through. Let your horse tell you. Oop, oop. Got in the ground good, kind of lost it up here. Very important when you turn on a fence, don't pull your horse out of the fence. Offer it. Nice.
You don't pull the horses?
If you pull him off the fence, he'll go right into it. He'll go over it with his head. Oop. Oop. Half. Oop. Pretty. Pretty for a baby.
But you don't pull them, you offer it, and then drive them into it?
Just offer that feel and ask your horse into it. Nice. We've got this colt doing a lot of different things, acting like a broke horse, and we haven't done anything except offer a feel. We haven't got him disturbed. His mind is nice. He's enjoying his work. He's my friend. He's not my slave. A lot of times on these young colts, I don't like to do too much of this rein work without showing them a cow. I like to stand a cow in front of them and do my exercises and let that cow pull you. Make your horse dominant over something, because we domineer them in the early stages.
That was good.
I like to use a fence to turn on, because the fence shortens my horse. I don't have to pull my horse. The fence will shorten for me. Oop. Oop. Half, half. Pretty soon you got to spin. Half, half, half. And don't pull the horse off the fence. Let that fence shorten you. You ride him from behind. You ride him, you maybe take a little better shape on your fence, and sometimes I'll even do this. I'll roll those hindquarters up so far that his head goes down like that. I'll roll the hindquarters way up, and his head will go down. Whoop.
So you drive them after they're committed on the fence?
Whoop. Yeah. Ask him, and he's going from long to short. All through this horse's body, in order for him to get long, he has to get short. And for him to get short, he has to get long. And that's what we're doing. We're asking him to get short on that fence and get long.
But
get
you don't...
short, get long. Get short and long. We can't keep this horse in the ball and expect him to get shorter. We got to let him get long so he can get short.
But you're not asking him to turn, you're letting him turn, and then you're asking him to get out and turn.
I'm offering it. I'm shaping up his body like we talked about, getting this neck round, getting that neck round. Then I know I'm clean back here. I'm just letting that fence help me. Let that fence shorten me.